want to welcome everybody to our Building Friendships That Last Zoom. We were just talking that we're super excited to be talking about this because it's something that we have built throughout the years. Like, we're not here, like, we've known each other for a really, really long time now. We all came in different times and we have never always been this close. Like, in reality, this is something that happened in this season. And I just love how God just strategically has put us together. So I'm really excited
Hallelujah.
to hear
Yes.
everything. And the way this is gonna work is I'm gonna ask the girls some questions, and then they're just gonna give a little bit of what they think and what they feel in their perspective. But before I do and I ask the first question, I just want to set the base of like why we're doing this. We're doing this because I feel like friendships are something that we really need, especially in the season that we are in, that is quarantine. It takes an emotional, I think, toll in our lives. And so we're more by ourselves in this time than it is. And a lot of people are more by themselves in this time than with people. Especially if you
Mm-hmm.
actually have had exposure to the virus and out of the nowhere you have to quarantine yourself and you're like for 2-3 weeks all by yourself in a room. This is for you. Ultimately, this is for you because just because you're by yourself doesn't mean you can't take that time to build friendships. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of that's the motive, right? And also for all of those girls that maybe they think, that maybe you feel alone. And we were talking about that before we started. We were talking about like we all can have times of feeling lonely. Personally, I can relate because I am single after being married. I'm single and I have shared custody of my children. So there are times where I'm literally by myself. And so those are times where when I'm in my room, I'm literally alone, literally alone. And one of the things I remember a couple of months back that we were still in like very heavy lockdown. I remember that, I don't know if you girls remember, but I did like these like Zoom nights. Not it was FaceTime, like wine and FaceTime, or I don't even know what I called it. But I think I did it with Marieli, I did it with Sarita, I think I did it with Anna, that she's not on the Zoom. And I think I did it with somebody else, with Joanna, I did it. And I kind of did that because I was just like, we can't go out, but there's this extra time. So let me FaceTime. And literally it was like, oh, we'll FaceTime for like half an hour. And we would end up being there for like an hour, ya durmiéndonos así en FaceTime, en la cama, talking about life. And it's because we need that. We need people. So just because it's a season of quarantine doesn't mean that we can't build our friendships in this season. So um,
Mm-hmm.
definitely if you are alone or if you're like, man, I want to have a circle. I want to have a circle of friends. We're here. That's what it's about. We want to give the things that have happened to us that have helped us build our friendships. So are you
Mm-hmm.
ready? That's my intro.
Already. Let's go.
The first question, because I'm done talking. My first question is, okay, so in my first blog, my very first blog that I wrote was called Girlfriends. It was part of my 3 blog launches. When I launched the blog, I launched it with 3 blogs, and it was one of the first ones. And so I was talking about investing in the people that you love. And Laura that's right there, that's the Laura that, if you've read my blog, she's the one that sent me the book, Girls Stop Apologizing. And so,
Changed.
Lauries, like, you are it. You're so in my first blog, I talked about investing in the people that you love. Here's the question. What is one way that you feel we invest in each other? So who wants to take that one? Maybe one or two of us.
I'll say and only because you talked about like quarantine, out of all of the group of us, like I was the one that kind of stepped out for like 3.5 years and moved to North Carolina with my husband and stuff. So it was a really lonely time because all of a sudden my village wasn't with me.
Mm.
But I learned something there that I didn't know before. And you said like this isn't something we've always had, like we haven't all been besties, this whole season. We've gone through seasons, we've gone through things, we've hated on each other, we've worked it out, everything. But when I went to North Carolina and I went through like a desert, like I questioned if I believed in God, I questioned friendships, like I was borderline depressed, and that's not my personality. I remember Sarah actually was really used by God in not just like that time, but has shaped my way of relating to my girlfriends. You know, when I left, me and Sarah weren't really close. Like we knew each other from church forever, but we weren't like, I'm going to tell you my life story type of friends, you know? And literally something happened when I left. Like she was one of the very few people that would just, she would see me post something on Instagram and she would call me or she would text me intentionally about something that I had posted. Like if I posted that my daughter was sick, she would literally minutes later, if not that very same day, like, hey, I saw you posted Maddie sick. How's she doing? And I was like, at first, like, she's good. Like, I don't know, Sarah. Like, we're not that tight. Like, I don't know. And literally like our friendship blossomed from that. Like every time I would visit and come down, like she was a house that I would stay at. And Martin, my husband, was like, you really want to stay at Laura? I'm at Sarah and Miguel's house. And I was like, I mean, yeah. They said yeah. Like it was just like it blossomed into something, and it taught me that we can be intentional with the little things, and that's how you build like true friendship and true relationship. So that was my 2 cents.
That's good.
And I love you, Sarah.
Love you. Yeah, I think that definitely one of the things, like one of the things that helps me to keep friendships, because let me tell you, I'm not like the kind of person that I'm gonna call like every day or text you or be like, hey, how you doing? You know, there might be times that, you know, I might not text you, or like we don't text each other all the time to see how we, but I think it's special moments that we have with each other and being genuine with each other, you know, being intentional and just being there, you know, like that. It's so easy to find people out there that tells us like, hope you have a good day, love you, or like, you know, like I receive that a lot from people that tell me love you, but I'm like, you really love me? You really know me? But I think that meaning everything that we say to each other, also key, because it's so easy to just say things. When we don't mean it, I think that we feel it, you know, and I think that with our actions, we're also able to show that.
Yeah.
Question though, in the case where you weren't as close with Marieli, what led you to become intentional with her in a point where you weren't close to her in proximity or in relationship? Like, what led you to become that intentional?
I think I remember that before she left, we were starting to become like friends. And at that point, like they left, you know, because Madison was born, so Tiago just born, and then just kept in touch with each other. And also like, in my mind, I was like, she's gonna be on her own. I think as a friend, I would like someone to be there for me as well. You know?
And you said that, like you said, like what we say to each other, we actually mean. And you just reminded me, like when we left, we had like a little goodbye, like circle of friends, and everybody gave us like special words. And your words were one that touched me the most, because you said, you know, you were crying, and I was so shocked that you were really like sad that I was leaving, you know. And then you said to me, you're like, I promise you that this isn't the end of our friendship. Like I'm gonna try to invest in our relationship. And so now I remember like why it was also so meaningful that you really did mean that, because throughout 4 years of me being there, our relationship blossomed to now you're one of the closest people in my life.
Yeah. And you know what? I remember that Miguel and I had a conversation about, you know, we need to keep those friendships, you know, because we understand the importance of community. Like, there's nothing worse than doing life by yourself, you know? And I think that sometimes pride does to just be alone, you know? Pride or lack of forgiveness.
I wanted to step in and say how I feel also we came from a time where we were all in leadership, a lot of things had to do with getting things done. Like in the beginning,
Mhm.
it was a lot with getting things done. And I remember maybe with Sarita, not like a specific conversation, but I feel like that was something that you expressed at a point in time, Saris, of like maybe people reaching out to you more because something needed to get done rather than actually investing in you as a person. And I
Yeah.
think that it's very big of you to, instead of just becoming the victim and being like, nobody invests in me, nobody invests in me,
That's great.
around and say, you know what, why don't I become the person that invests in someone else? Because Marieli no longer was somebody that was present. Marieli wasn't going to go to an event with us. Marieli wasn't going to have an assignment. She wasn't going to do something specific in what we were in our projects. She was literally in another place. So for you to step out and actually still be there for her and to reach out to her genuinely now as a friend, because there was no second motive to being her friend. It was just
Mm.
literally, I want to be your friend. And I want to like maybe take the moment to speak a little bit about Andreita, which I know she always tunes in. And Andreita right now, she is Marieli's sister-in-law, and she's also like a big part of our friends, and she's in another country. And I feel like that with Andreita, like she is the one that's actually has been intentional with me. And I want to thank her because I know she'll probably tune in and watch this, because she, in my journey, like she literally has been one of my biggest cheerleaders from being someone that's literally not here. Like she doesn't see, we have not seen each other in years, but in the moments that are key, she's there. And she's not just there on the comments in the post. She's there like she calls me. She's there like she messages me in my text messages. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think that when we do that, when we decide to not be the victim, but to be what we want another person to be in our lives, that's a game changer. That's a game changer.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to say
I
something?
want to share a little bit about my long situation I had a long time ago. For example, I would usually call Diana and say, you know, I feel very lonely because all my friends left church. But and she would tell me, you're not lonely. You actually have a lot of friends. Look around you. And she would remind me of the people that God has placed in my life that I need to value, you know? And when I understood that, I started taking an action and being more intentional with the people that with the people that God had put in my life. And I think that sometimes we let the enemy put those like bad thoughts in our head, like, you know, like you're lonely, like you don't have friends. And that's what actually causes the division between the friendships that God had placed in your life. But when you take actions towards that thought, like taking an action of like, if the enemy puts in your head like, oh, you don't have a friend, those are not real friends because they're not around you anymore, but instead like taking the time to call them or like going to their house, taking them to a coffee, you know, like a real action as a friend, then you will value that person for who they are, and you will value those times and realize like, wow, we don't have to go through life alone. We don't get to choose the situations, like the hard situations that we go through life, but we do get to choose with the people that we go through life.
Amen.
So
Yep.
when we understand that, we're able to choose wisely the people that we surround ourselves with, so that we can go through life, learn with people that are by your side, not comparing, but instead of learning from others, you know, sharing your life with. And I think as women, we tend to be very maybe like drama queens, if we could put it that way,
Yeah.
because I think we all are in some point. But when we let that go, and we take actions of humbleness, we learn to value our friendship. So that's what I did. I mean, I started being more intentional with the people that God put in my life, and I was able to remember God's love towards me and say, wow, like I do have friends, you know. And like Diana was sharing, like we've been together for more than 10 years, you know, we know each other forever, we have gone through so many situations. And yeah, it's just more like look around who's around you and value those people and
That's so
invest in
true.
them.
And I think that actually I think that one of the things that I appreciate a lot is when people are vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Yep.
And I think that, like, for example, with Diana, like Diana Muñetón, I mean Muñetón. um
Last names in this season until it's like I actually like change it.
okay. Once you became vulnerable, like I can say the word vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think that I was able to get to know the real Diana. You know,
Mm.
you know, like it's so easy for us to not be vulnerable, and I think that when even with Maria, like remember yesterday we were having a conversation in the car, and I was just being honest with her, like, you know, this season is hard, you know, and I think that when I am vulnerable, I'm able to let her come into my life, you know. And I also I learned that from Diana. I learned that from Diana because sometimes our pride won't let us show our weakness, you know.
Mm.
And I've learned that showing and just sharing where I am in life with others is just a stepping stone for my next I don't want to say level, but you know, my next season, you know. And I think that's key.
I think that I was trying to cover up flaws for such a long time that when I finally decided, you know what, I don't care what people think. I want them to really know what it is that I'm going through. I'm tired of pretending that I'm perfect. I'm not. You know,
That's good.
I'm tired of pretending that I have it all together just because I'm in a position of leadership. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm broken inside, and I need friends, real friends, to know me. And I think that when I finally made that decision, like I don't care what people think about me. I want you to really know what I'm going through.
Mhm.
That's when imagínate, that's what actually brought us closer together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sarita, like in my darkest season, the hardest, Sara was there, Anita was there, and I literally was me. This is how I messed up. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I did. You know what I mean? And that just, I mean, I know that you are my friend today because you accept me for who I am, not for who I'm pretending or I want you to think that I am, you know?
Mhm.
And so let's go to question number 2. So I said, I've also blogged about not comparing yourself with other people. That's something I struggled with. I've shared that, how I'm like, oh, but I'm not like Marieli. Marieli's such a natural leader. I'm not like Erica. Erica, she's so compassionate and so she cares about like the feelings of a person. Really, like, you know, she really gets personal with you, and I am so like cuadrada that sometimes I overstep your emotions to get to the point, you know. And so maybe Erica hasn't spoken, so maybe I'll throw the ball to you. One way that you can help, and actually this is perfect, we were talking about this at the beach yesterday. What is one way that you can help a friend that constantly compares herself? You were talking to me about that yesterday, and I thought it was gold. So tell me.
So I think that none of us can say, oh, I don't struggle with that. I don't compare myself because I feel, I can check off all the list of, you know, how I'm good. I think everybody compares themselves. I think what you guys were talking about, being vulnerable, I have seen it really help because I'm a person that it's easy for me to just be real with people, even in very personal things, in my personality, maybe also in understanding how to get to people's emotions. I feel the key is to be real because as you have friends that maybe are more prone to comparing themselves, and maybe you realize that, as you're real with them and they can see, look, my marriage, there's this area that I'm working on. Me as a mom, there's this area that I'm working on. In my career, I struggle with this. To get here personally, I struggle with this. I think that helps your circle or woman around you to feel like nobody has it all together. So I think that it really helps instead of comparing, maybe just really seeing, what does my girlfriend have that maybe I don't have, that I can learn and grow from? And what do I have? How can my friend bring out the things that I have that she can now learn and grow from? And then you break like a barrier when you're real, of somebody not being able to be themselves, and them constantly comparing, different attributes or whatever that they might not have. So I think that's one way really how I have learned to build other women, and being real and showing them, this is how it is, this is it. We're all in it together. None of us have it all together, no matter what your bank account shows, no matter what your pictures show, doesn't matter. And I think it's part of the maturity that you get, and growing through the hard stuff and sharing it with a few people that can benefit from it.
Let's raise our hand. How many of us have suffered with comparison? And I'm going to throw the ball over to Diana. How many of you have, like, I've compared myself? Like, that's like the majority of us. So Marge, she's perfect. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Marge,
Processing. She's processing.
I was just paying attention, so into it.
Diana, I'm going to throw the ball over to you. I know you had something to say, but I think you need to put your volume up because I can barely hear you.
My volume?
I don't know if you have, like, headsets. Maybe if Carlo Manuel can give you some.
Just get closer to the computer like this.
Can you guys hear
like
me?
this, talk like una viejita, like that, really close.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, when Erika was talking, I was remembering something that Marge and I were talking about out here in my balcony a few months ago. And it was like about a preaching that she had just seen, and she had come to my house, and she said something that she remembered in the preaching that said, everybody's normal until you get to know them. And then, you realize everybody seems very normal by pictures or status or whatever it is. But when you really get to know someone, you're going to know no one's normal. Like, we're all weird, And and I think that
with big issues.
What is it? Big issues.
With big issues.
With big issues. Weird with issues. And I think one of the things too that have helped, in my journey when I've compared, or when I've been able to help somebody who's struggling with that, is when people really just remind you that you have good qualities too. Because a lot of times, you just start highlighting everybody else's qualities, and she's such a good mom, or she's so good with this, or why can't, and you tend to forget you're great too. You have some pretty good qualities. So I think when friends start to speak life over you and remind you who you really are, and how valuable you really are, and how awesome you really are, that really helps you to overcome that insecurity, to constantly be feeling less everybody has it more together than I do, and I'm just less than. So I think, Marge has been a good voice in my life to just speak life and remind me, hey, you've got this quality, you got, I've got this going, or whatever it is. And so that's something that I've been able to pour into other people as well, who have struggled with those insecurities and thought, this person's perfect or whatever. So remember that everybody looks normal. Everybody's normal until you get to know them. So I think that's one thing that really just stuck with me. So.
That's awesome.
I think that sums up in complimenting each other. Being able to compliment each other, it's what Erika said, we all compare ourselves, but some of us might take it more personal, and just make it like, oh, this is how it is, you know. But if we're able to complement each other, we're reminded of our good qualities.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And just because one person is good at something, it doesn't make me less good.
That's right.
By me identifying that you are great at something, it doesn't make me less good or the rest of the people in the group, you
Right.
know,
And
less.
it's a reminder that we need each other because like you have strengths that I don't have, and you know,
Yeah.
you're good at something that I'm not good at, and I'm good at something that you're not good at. So I think it helps us to keep each other like accountable and remembering like we really do need each other.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. Before we go into our next question, I love stories, and I feel like one of the and I'm not afraid to tell them anymore. But one of the things that I spoke about in my blog was about how I had like a nemesis and like a person that I really I just constantly compared myself with her, and I was in a position to, it was easy to do it. And so I remember that one time I've always had a desire in my heart to speak to groups. And so there was a conference that actually another friend of ours hosts for girls. And so when we connected for the first time, it was really neat because she like had this conference that hundreds of girls came to, and we were in the youth. We led the youth, and it was just like it would be so awesome to one day be able to speak in this conference, right? And that was in my heart, like since day one, since I met this girl. And so whatever, like we went to that conference, like back in the day, probably some of us went to that conference, and other girls that we took with us, little middle schoolers, high schoolers. I want to say maybe a year later, if not 2 years later, I was no longer, as I shared in my blog, I had quit everything. I got to a moment where I literally quit everything that had to do with people. I just lived at my house. I went to work. And so I was a mom. Actually, I was a stay-at-home mom. So I was like at home, and that's it. And so it came up in social media that this one friend that I always used to compare myself with, this one friend was going to speak at this conference for the girls that I have always wanted to speak at. And it's funny, I tell it now because even the girl that hosts the conference, I've already told this story to. I've already shared it with her and everything.
You let it out.
Because why? Because literally the first thing that came into my heart was comparison, was jealousy, was envy, was I cannot believe that just everything that I want, she gets. You know what I mean? And I did something that I was like, and I think it was, I don't know who, one of you girls told it to me yesterday in the beach, that you said, I will do what, I think it was you, Erica. I will do, or no, it was Marge. It was Marge. She said, I will do what my flesh is telling me not to do, or like, you know, lo que haría en contra
The opposite.
de lo que quiero hacer, of what I want to do. And I literally, I got my phone and I texted my friend. I said, hey, I just saw the no, I had seen the promotion for a really long time. The day that she was going to give a message at the event, that morning, I messaged her like 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't know what it was. It was really early in the morning. I woke up, I messaged her, and I told her, hey, girl, I know today you're speaking. I want you to know that I'm praying for you. And it makes me want to cry. I want you to know that I'm praying for you, and that I'm so proud of you, and that I pray the Holy Spirit gives you words to speak into those girls. And
Okay. This is the fun part.
I can't believe that I'm actually, like, I just remembered this. And she was like, thank you so much, amen. You know, it was not for her. She didn't need my message. She was confident in what she was doing. She always has been. But it was for me. It was, I needed, my mom is
Let that go.
my daughter. I needed to be the bigger person. I needed to cancel out my jealousy, my comparison, and I needed to be proud of her, and I needed to celebrate her. So I you're somebody out there that compares yourself constantly, the next opportunity that you have, be the bigger person and go out there and do what, instead of like critiquing, instead of like ignoring that message, instead of blocking that person, no, go out there and celebrate them, because one day it will be your turn.
That's
It
so
won't be at that time, but one day it will be. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was my story.
Yeah.
So the next question, my phone locked.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think that what you just said about jealousy, I think that what keeps us in comparison is jealousy, you know? And the fastest way to get out of comparison is by complimenting. You know, if someone has the cute outfit, compliment their outfit. You know, if you're jealous because they have a marriage or they have the family or whatever, you know, compliment that is making you jealous.
So I know we have to go to the next question, but that's important because some people would call that fake. So
I was about to say that.
You're just being fake because then you're going to turn around and talk bad about it. And I think that it starts with saying it, but it's also making a decision in our hearts that no one else knows about but ourselves, and say, okay, as I'm saying this, I'm choosing to believe this, or
I
to
think it has to be an attitude of
your heart. And it doesn't mean that you have to be able to say it, but it starts with that decision of, okay, if I am going to compliment her outfit, I also have to be accountable with myself to not turn around and talk bad about her outfit or her clothes, but honor that person by saying it to their face, but also turning around and guarding their character or whatever it is by not talking bad about them.
And I mean, you are the kind of friend, like the friends, you will attract the kind of friend that you are, you know, and like I mean, I love God and everything, but my personality is like, I can read people like really well. And I just completely like repel from girls that'll be like, oh my God, you look so cute. But then you know that they're just saying that because they're going to turn around and say something else. So if I would love to get to know you. I would love to be a part of your life and build new friendships. I'm all about that. But if you're that kind of girl that struggles with that, and there's this thing in you that you have the need to, you know, because you struggle with jealousy or whatever, is what you're saying, Laura, being able to be accountable with yourself. And like, if you really want to see a change in the circle of your friends, you have to be that change. Like, you have to decide that if you're in a circle of friends where they talk bad about each other, like, you know, none of us would ever sit together and be like, oh my God, Erica, did you see what Marge just did? Like, I can't believe it. Because we have this code of honor, you know, that I know that if I were to dare open my mouth and talk bad about Marge, Erica's going to shut me up. And she's going to be like, Maddie, I don't, like, no, like, why don't you just talk to Marge about that? You know, like, and I think that that's like a code of honor that women lack in a lot of circles, you know? So being able to stay true to like, I'm going to get over, you know, my comparison, but staying true to myself and catching myself and like building that code of honor within your friends.
Yeah, good foundation.
That is so true. Thank you, baby. All right, so let's go on to the next question, because we literally have like, when we have to do it quick so that we can keep it within the hour. Question number 3, my daughter's here. She wants to say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Beautiful.
We are all in different seasons. This is a fun question. For example, I'm currently the only one that's single. Laura is the only one that's not a mom. And I want to say Laura's the only one because Diana, even though she's not a mom, she really is a mom. And we can talk about that too. And Laura, so I want to go to Laura, and maybe I'll throw it over to Diana too. Laura, what is a tip that you do to still be apart, even though there are things that you can't relate with? In this case, motherhood. And I want to also hear from Diana in this point, because she has a beautiful journey as well. So, Laura.
So I think for me, it's about creating boundaries. And I learned this in the last few years. And when you create boundaries, you create a structure. Like a boundary could be a line, or it could become a square, whatever you want it. But the boundary creates surroundings. And then you decide what you're going to do inside of the surroundings and what you're going to leave outside. And for me, with regards to friendships, in the last few years, I've transitioned from different spaces and relationships, and I got to a point where I had to decide, okay, I feel alone. I really feel like I was starting again in terms of relationships, and it felt lonely, but I don't know if it was part of my personality or what it was, but I knew that I had the chance to form certain relationships, and I did it intentionally. Like, okay, who do I want to have in my life? And it wasn't based on if they have kids, if they have money, if they're married, if they're not, but based on who their character was. I think that in different areas of our lives, we still can relate. And either way, in relationships, it takes effort. So it takes effort for me to find ways to relate to my husband, to my sister, to my friends, whether they have kids or not. And I chose who I wanted to be friends with. I decided how much effort I wanted to put into those relationships. And to be honest, the only people in this group that I feel like I've had a long-term relationship with is my sister. Obviously, I was born with her. And
The womb.
Dianis, I've known you for a long time, but even after, when you were going through your process, we also distanced ourselves. And I think Marieli was the one that I stayed in touch with the most. There was a time Marieli was away, so I'm so grateful that she reached out intentionally into my life, and I've always known that no matter what, I've always known I want Marieli in my team. Like, I'm blessed to have her in my team. And then when I left church, from one church to another, when I started a new circle or whatever, my new season, there were a few people that I was like, man, I'm so blessed to know them, and I don't have a relationship with them, but I would be blessed if they would allow me into their circle. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever said that before, but that took, for me personally, courage. Like Marge and Erica, you guys for me are gems. Like, and it makes me want to cry as I say this. You guys are gems, and for me, it took courage to say, I don't know if they will accept me into that circle because we have never been super close, but I want to show them that I care. And I want to step into that. I don't care if they have kids, if they're married. I know they're a blessing. And I'm so grateful because their hearts are just so special and humble that they've always received me with love. And today I'm reaping the fruit of that first that I took, right? Because I get to enjoy from receiving their blessing. I see it as a recipient, like, but it does take that investment, that first investment. So I think, just to sum it up, it's not about whether the person has a child or is married or not. It's about the value that we see in them. Mm-hmm. Rest, we're going to make it happen because we care about it. If it matters, we're going to fight for it. We're going to work for it. And we're finding ways to go around it. Like, I mean, Marieli has 3 girls and I love them. Like, they're amazing. And there are seasons where I get to see her very often. There are seasons where I don't. But I don't go into Marieli's house expecting for her to give me all of her attention, because part of what I love about her is that she's a mom. And so I want to accommodate to her needs, and I want to learn from her in that season.
I love that expectation.
I want to say that
that's part of the beauty.
I'm sorry.
Of the relationship. Excuse me, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that one thing I've always noticed from you is that when you decide to be, like, when you decide who those people are that you've decided to be in our lives, you are intentional with our children. Like, you are not even a mom, and you get invited to our kids' birthdays.
Oh,
by the kid. You get invited by the kid.
Exactly.
By the kids, yeah.
Sure.
Seriously.
Michaela loves Laura. Oh, who's gonna be there? Lauries. Yes. You know, like,
my kids even named her. She has a different name in my house, and her husband. Their name is Tata and Toto, and I don't know how that came out. It is legit. Like, we were in the middle of COVID, okay? Like, I could be broke, and I can't have a birthday party because I can't afford it, and my children will cry if they don't show up for their birthday party. Like, Tata and Toto need to be there.
And I just want to say that I feel like everything that you have invested in our children, God is going to multiply it in your children.
That's right.
Oh,
man.
I mean, they're going to be so loved because you have sown so much in our children's lives that, I mean, you're just going to reap all of this love from everybody around you, and your kids
Yeah.
are going to reap that. You're sowing for your kids. And
100%.
that's another level. So we love you.
Free
That's
babysitting, girl. Free
level.
babysitting. Write it down.
Oh,
Write
girl.
it down,
Oh, girl,
Free
please.
babysitting. You're gonna be
No,
traveling
but-
the world because we all got you.
Oh yeah. No, but for real, I think I'll sum it up with, if you really want something, you'll go for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you really value a relationship, you'll go for it, and you'll look into learning not just from what you think you want to receive from it, but all around, the good and the bad, the hard, and some relationships are worth it, and we need to figure out, maybe make a list, write it down in our journal, and say, okay, how does this person add to my life, and how much effort do I want to put into it? And we might find out that there are some people that maybe in the season or whatever it is, you know, they're meant to be outside of our boundary, and that's okay. But creating clear expectations for ourselves will allow us to go into that relationship in a healthy way, and also exiting in a healthy way, right? And creating that set of relationship, like that distance where it's like, okay, I still love you, and just because I talk less to you, I'm not leaving that relationship in a hurt way, but simply it's just a different season of my life, and that's okay.
I love what Erika was saying about expectation too, right before it got switched off. But I think one of the things that we have to understand is that it's going to look different. And we have to understand, like, if our friends are in a different season than us, if our friend is married, if our friend has 3 children or 1 child or a newborn, or like what stage they're going through, like we can't expect our friendship to look the same way it did when we were in high school, when we were in college, when we first got married and we had no kids and we could do whatever we wanted and go on cruises together or whatever. But like you said, when you go to Marieli's house, you don't expect all the attention to be on you, or, you know, it's all about expectations and understanding. Like, they might not answer the phone every time you call them. They might not text you back for 2 weeks or a week or whatever it is, because their kid might be playing on the phone and like reading all their messages, and then
or reading the message and then you never see that it came in, right? Okay.
Don't try sending voice messages to your friends that
Diana's talking to me.
phones, because
Literally.
they will play the message and your friend will never hear it, and then she'll think you're crazy because you never sent a message.
Yeah.
So I think really it's understanding, like, it's not about me and, like, you know, whether, you know, I'm married or I have kids or I'm single or whatever, but really understanding, like, the position our friends are in, and adding value to that season that they're in. And I think for me, like Diana was saying, like, I've been a mom in and out of season, because I'm a foster mom, and like I'll foster for like a year, and then I won't have kids for like 3 months, so I won't be a mom for 3 months. So I have that freedom, and I try to enjoy it to the max, and then I have kids again. And, you know, I think being able to understand what it's like to have kids and what it's like to not have kids. And when my friends try to reach out to me in a season where I do have kids, I'm like, I totally get all my friends that have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. Because when I was in the season where I didn't have kids, you know, it's harder to understand why your friends don't answer the phone. Oh, they don't care about me. They don't, you know, I'm not important to them anymore because they're married or they have a kid or whatever. But then you really start putting yourself in their shoes, and then you're the one that wants that grace from other people as well.
That's right.
I totally understand that it's not because I love them less or I think about them less, but it's just the season I'm in is tough, you know? And yeah, I currently, you know, we just moved down to South Florida, my husband and I, with no kids. And we didn't want to foster for maybe 6 months to a year, and Marge knows it. I told her, I was like, we're not fostering. We're taking like a 6-month, 12-month break. And we want to have our own kids, but we even said, okay, maybe 6 months, 12 months, and we'll see what happens. Literally 2 months later, we got 2 kids that we are currently in the process of adopting.
Wow.
So it was like that instant family type of thing where, you know, from having this freedom and this flexibility to do what you want to, oh my gosh, I have 2 kids. I have to come home and take care of children now. So I think it's just really important that we understand where, like, what seasons our friends are in and have expectations of what it's going to look like.
And I just want to add really quick, because I've been in a situation where I have friends from middle school, high school, friends that after graduating have moved. I have a friend that moved to Canada. I have friends that moved to other states. And I had at one point, you're raising your family, and then maybe your friend is in a different season. And I think what really has blessed me with in different situations is like honesty and communication, because there can be the times that you forget the text and there can be silence, and then weeks go by and you don't want to lose that friendship, but you don't even know how to say, I've been, just working nonstop, and I've been just handling these kids nonstop, but like, can we pick up where we left off? And I know a lot of times the pride comes in, and then it's just like silence, and then months of silence, and then how do you go back to that friendship after all that silence? And I have been able to have those open communications, and nothing's wrong between us. Like, I'm not mad. I didn't forget you. Like, I've just totally, life has just hit me full speed, but like now I'm here. Do you have a certain time that we can FaceTime? Can we catch up? Can we program something? And then you just really like that, those friendships that are like your family, you just pick up right where, you left off, and you continue, instead of just breaking that bridge and feeling like, man, we just disconnected. It's done.
Wow. That's gold.
Celebrate you because you are very intentional with your friends and the people that you love, and I love that. Okay, we're running out of time officially. I want to go on to the last question, and we have like maybe 5 minutes because I started the timer later. This question is about forgiveness, and I'm actually gonna throw it to Marge maybe after maybe if you answer it first. I think one thing that destroys most friendships is unforgiveness, and we've all had our differences amongst us. How do you process conflict and practice forgiveness? And before I throw it to you, I think that one thing that that's something that me and Marieli have also lived, because we have had conflict, as in conflict fight, like not like conflictive conversations. Eye to eye, and I'm talking about years ago. It's not like something that happens now. It's like way when we were much younger. But I think that one thing that we practiced was forgiveness, and I think that I've practiced that also. I think that maybe we haven't had a conversation, maybe not even with Marieli or with Marge, of like, hey, I forgive you, but we have it in our heart. I think that one of, I don't know if you remember, Marge, but one of the times that we
Oh yes, I do.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. We were at my house, and we were just having one of these conversations that we tended to have. I don't know why we found that it was necessary to confront each other in this way, but we were having a meeting, and so we sat down, and it's not about getting into the subjects, but I just know, and I remember how hurt I felt at the end of that, and I feel like you also felt hurt on your part, and I feel that after that conversation we kind of distanced off completely, and then just progressively, and I feel like it's because of the positive picture of everybody else that we are, o sea, inevitablemente we're entangled, like we are in the same circle, you know what I mean? And I feel like we both forgave each other without even talking about it, because I don't recall us even talking about it. Like, I just remember that happened, and in my heart, literally, like, I love you. We're super different. Marge and I somos demasiado diferentes, but I've learned to just love you and appreciate you and just let you like bless my life. And the question was, how do you process conflict and practice forgiveness? So I want to hear maybe a little bit of like, how do you kind of go through that, and how did you find forgiveness with me or with others?
Yeah. One of the things that I have practiced a lot in my life that had gotten me in trouble sometimes, because I'm so white and black as Erica, that's why I guess we get along so good, is because I literally, when something bothers me or I don't agree in something, I need to talk it out, and that's confrontation. I think that relationships can be very messy and very crazy because that's the reality. That's what is, relationships are all about, that and more. But I think that when you get to go through situations that you're hurt and that you cannot let go, the first thing that you should do is take an action and look at yourself and understand that you are the same crazy person as the other person it is, and that we need to have grace as just God has grace with our lives, And when we understand that, we put ourselves in the other person's shoes, and we understand that we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And we are able to have grace and love that person unconditionally, just because I know that God has placed her in my life to bless my life. I think that God, yes, it is all our Father, provider, and everything, but just as He says that friendship is a gift from Him, is because He uses those specific persons to bless our lives as well. And I think that once I realized that you were that person that God used you to bless my life, I was able to value you and forgive you and pray for a relationship and pray for my heart. Because yes, I went through a situation that got us to that level, and we know why, but I was able to come to your house and let it all out just the way I was going crazy inside of me. And I think that the relationship that we have now is because of that, because I was able to talk to you and just open my heart. And in that moment, just everything that came out, maybe the wrong way or the right way, whatever it is. But I know that I was able to be honest and confront the situation. And after that, I went back home and I was like, God, I feel better. I feel better because I was able to be honest to her and to him. And right there, I was healed and I was able to forgive. I was able to move on. And I remember that we took another action to, invite you and like try to build a relationship. And that's what God put in my heart, to keep construir la relación,
Keep
and
building.
value the relationship that God gave me through you and show grace. Because at the end of the day, we will never have perfect relationship, but it's all about valuing, investing, and be thankful that, we are not perfect, but what can we get from that person? What can we learn from that person? And I think that when we learn to see it that way, we can understand that, yes, that person is the person that God has placed in my life to bless me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think that that's true. I think that I learned a lot from that conversation. One of the things that you told me, not verbatim because I don't remember verbatim, but one thing that you told me was of like my lack of being able to connect with you as a person, as a friend. Like we knew each other, but we didn't really know each other. Like there was a facade. And I think that has a little bit to do with what I was sharing before of me not being vulnerable before and me having to put up a front. You know what I mean? Like everything was perfect. Or I didn't make mistakes, And I feel like that from that conversation, it took a while. It wasn't that same day that I was like, oh, okay, now I'm different. No, it took a long time. It probably took years after that for me to actually get to a place where I was like, wow, that one thing that Marge told me, even though it hurt in the moment, right now I value it because I don't want to be that person anymore. I never want to lead like that.
That's good.
That's good.
From a point of perfectionism, I never want to come across like I know it all. Like I just don't. And so that helped me. That it didn't help me in the moment. I didn't want to hear it in the moment. I didn't. It hurt me in the moment.
Yeah.
But you needed to tell me that. I needed to hear it, and it was a seed that, at a point in time, it was going to give, life in me. It was gonna, iban a dar fruto. And I think that when we do have to confront, now we're gonna have to close now, but when we do have to confront somebody, when you have something that you need to say, sometimes you do need to talk about it, even if it's hurtful, you do need to talk about it. But I feel like we do have to confront in love. That's one thing that I'm attempting, and that I'm constantly reminding my kids, because we are in Christ brothers and sisters. So my son and my daughter, they fight all the time. I don't know, do y'all kids fight? Because my kids fight. My kids fight like all the time. And so one thing that I constantly have to tell Michaela, because Michaela's older, is I tell her the way that you say it. That's the important thing. Because if you say, "Oh, Milan, you're so rude," because she'll speak to him like that, that's hurtful to him. That's only going to instigate him to want to fight back and be like, "Yeah, but you're a bully." You know what I mean? But if you say, "Milan, that wasn't nice," or "Milan, can I please have that?" instead of going and attacking him like, "That's so rude,"
Mm-hmm.
it changes it. You're saying the same thing, but you're changing the way that you're saying it. And that's what it is to confront in love. When you have something to talk to a friend about that it needs to get out there, you want to do it, but you don't want to do it attacking them. You do it in love. You say, "God, let me say it in the nicest way so that I can," the Bible says that, to confront each other in a way that you can win that you can win them over, that they can be like, "Thank you," instead of feeling like attacked, that they could be like, "Thank you, because you showed me something that I didn't want to hear, but you said it in a way that you want to bless me, that you want me to be better, not to break me down, not to hurt me." And so that's confrontation and forgiveness.
And they shared it with you and not everybody else besides you.
Yeah. If you have, I think I'm so grateful. I think, Mari, you're the one that said that before too. We have a code. Like, in no moment do I feel like Diana, Erica, Sara, Laura, Marieli, March, that you guys are over there talking bad about me. We don't always hang out. Marieli and Sara, they live close to each other, so they're workout partners. And you know what? I love to work out, but I'm not going to get offended that they're always working out together. They live 1 minute away from each other.
Literally.
And when they're over there and I see that they're on Instagram and they're over there doing their WOD, which I don't care about because I don't like CrossFit. When they're over there, I am not thinking in the middle of their workout, they're saying, "Oh, nada que ver, Diana." Like, I'm not, in no moment do I feel like you girls are talking bad about me. I don't. And
it goes to being present, like what Laura was saying, when you choose your friends. If I'm choosing to be present in my time with Sara working out, my time with Sara is not to talk about Marge. It's to be present with Sara. Right. My time with Marge is to be present with Marge. Like, how are we connecting? So that when we're all together, we've all been connecting, and it's great.
So yeah, girls, thank you so much for doing this. We were talking about in the beginning, our motivation to do this is that if you need to work on your friendships, I hope that these were tools, that it spoke to your heart, that it's something that you can put into practice, that you can go live out with your friends. Check your circle, because it's so important to have the right people around you. If you have people around you that tear you down, those are not people probably that you want to build, that you want to invest in. Maybe you have to check your circle and make some choices and stop hanging out around some people, and then look around yourself and be like, who is somebody? They say it, millionaires say it all the time. You are the product of the 5 people that you most hang out with. And I want to say there's 7 of us here. We're not the only ones. There's a handful that aren't in the Zoom. If not, there would be like 20 people in the Zoom. But there's a handful more that are our friends. And literally, we in here, we're billionaires because of the quality of friendships and the quality of people that you girls are. I feel like a billionaire. So because you're the people that I most hang around. That's why we speak the same language. We build each other up. And so find some people that you could practice this with, that you can make a good, healthy circle of friends to be around. So we love you guys. Hold on, I wanted to say, just keep coming back.
Just keep coming back in soon.
Come back to
All right, we're doing
my blog.
part 2 is next month.
Create a life that you love. We love you.
Bye.
So good, girl. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Have
Love you guys. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.